Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Holmes Studios. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by the Future Jays. I've got Joe Dellera and Jim Turvey with me, and this is your Future Jays Futures episode for Monday, December 30th, 2024. Man, where does 2024 go? We will talk about futures. Particularly, we're going to do divisions today. We decided we want to do divisions, which is great because I actually had multiple people tweeted me this week and be like, hey, can you guys talk about divisions on Buckets? And I'm like, we already plan to. I'm not just making this up either. So we're doing that today. Plus, we'll give you best bets, as always, for Monday, December 30th in the association, including a big showdown between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors and a line that makes no fucking sense. So we'll talk about that and more on today's show. Joe Dellera is on Twitter and in the Action Network app at Joe Dellera. You can catch him on the Cash That podcast. It's a great podcast. Go listen. It's awesome. He has great people on there doing all sorts of capping stuff. They talk about They do picks and recs. It's great. They just go download the Cash That podcast right now. Jim Turvey's from Roto Grinders and very kindly gives us his time here on Sunday nights. Jim Turvey can be found in the Action Network app and on Twitter at Turvey Bets. And you are going to want to bet what Turvey bets because as our guy Sean Rochester in the Action Network Discord has provided us with tables of everybody's ROI on the season, Jim is at 144 bets with a 23.12% ROI, 23%. And I'm going to use that number to force Brandon Anderson to start betting NBA again.
Yeah,
it's going to stick in his craw that somebody has a better ROI than him.
That's the good that will be used for. I love that.
Meanwhile, I'm at 3.75%. Slow and steady wins the race. Just trying to stay above 0%. That's all I'm trying to do. Is just scrapping every night with sides and totals, trying to stay alive. I could do this all day. All right. Let's begin with some talk about divisions. We'll start with the Atlantic Division with your reigning defending NBA champion, the Boston Celtics, who, as I've been saying recently, are not quite the team that everyone kind of has penciled them in as. They take another loss to the Indiana Pacers at home on Sunday night. With Brian Fonseca, we were both like, I think the Pacers can hang here. We think the Pacers can win this game. And we chose, for some fucking reason, the one where the Pacers were on a travel road back-to-back instead of just waiting 2 days and getting the revenge duplex spot where they did it. I went in for less units, but I did hit that one tonight. So I hope you tailed in the Action Network app to make up the money we lost on Friday. But the Boston Celtics, minus 500 at BetMGM, minus 475 at DraftKings, minus 590 at BetRivers. And the Knicks are second, plus 350. You can get a 380 out there. 350 is kind of the common in the market. If the hold on this is insane, because if let's take the Sixers with like Joel Embiid's questionable on Monday, surprise, surprise, like Nets and Raptors, and let's throw them out. Okay, so we can put them into a 1 percentage point of winning this thing. So if it's Celtics Knicks, if you remove the rest of the teams at BetRivers, it's a 7.1% hold. That's ridiculous. It's 5.71% at Caesars. DraftKings is the best because DraftKings has minus 475 Knicks or minus 475 Celtics, Knicks plus 380 for just a 3.3%. Joe Dellera, look, I'm trying very hard. I'm trying very hard not to here. I will tell you right now that as we sit here on December 30th, in the year of our Lord, 2024, I have the Knicks projected to win more games than the Boston Celtics. That's where my projections have, is I have them projected to win this division. I don't want to bet it, but if you want, like, if you're looking at this and you're like, should I bet into this market? I would just tell you the Celtics number is not right, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, they haven't looked as good, like, at home. Like, I think, I don't know if they're, like, bored. I don't know what's going on. I mean, like, they also are dealing with some guys, like, being in and out of the rotation, different injuries, like, whatever. And Mazzulla has said, too, like, they are just experimenting with different things. Like, the other day against the Pacers, not Sunday, but Friday, when they played the Pacers, they ran Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown the entire first quarter together. They have never done that the entire season. And when he was asked about it, he was like, well, you know, we just want to keep teams on their toes. We're going to try different things. That to me is terrifying if I have a Celtics bet anywhere, because they just know, hey, look, we're really good. We're going to make the playoffs. We don't even really care if we're home, if we're away, what our seed is. We're just going to experiment with things that improve our ceiling in terms of the title. And I think that that is damning for any type of division bet. Like, I would definitely not be wanting to bet Boston. I don't know if I'd want to bet New York either. I mean, like, I don't want to bet like a minus 500 on Boston, but at the same time, I don't know if it's tough for me. I'm like, do I want to tie up my happiness here and what's likely the 2 seed, which also just means that they're going to play Boston in the 2-3. Like, that's not what we want either. But at the same time, it's the thing that we've been talking about all season and into the preseason as well in regards to the New York Knicks. They don't stop. There's just never, they never hit the brakes. It's just constant gas the entire regular season. And that's the benefit to them and what makes them so strong as a team overall. So I do think that if you were going to bet a side, if you had to pick between Boston at minus 500 or minus 475, whatever, or New York at, say, plus 350, if it's heads up between the two of them, I'm going to take the Knicks.
So I've got an under Knicks 52.5 ticket, and I have them currently projected for 61 wins. So that's not great. And really thought that they would be softer. Now look, like, it's early. That's a power rated projection. That's not even adjusting for like the wins and losses of the current record. They're lower in my system based off of that number. But like, and like the power rating right now is like, oh yeah, no, the Knicks should be a 1.4 favorite versus the Celtics on neutral court. Do I think that's the case? No, I do not. But like Jim Turvey, like you've been waiting patiently for the moment of like, hey, the Celtics are going to get overrated by the market at some point, and like I will say definitively, they are overrated by the market in both title odds and here in this division future market.
Yeah, I'm gonna parrot you from last week and say that I don't think this is the exact second to buy in on. Like, a couple things. I think if you're totally fresh to this market, it's not the moment to buy in on the Knicks, because I think you're buying high, because I still think with this team, that what Joe said is absolutely true. There's no stop in this team. It's gas, 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 gas. And that's Tibbs, right? There's pros and cons to that. That means that they are almost certainly going to be more invested in this regular season than the Celtics. However, it also means a team that I was convinced from the beginning of the season was going to have some injury concerns because of that gas, gas, gas. They've been pretty healthy so far. Seems like Brunson is constantly questionable, playing through these questionable injuries. They really have not suffered any injuries so far. They're going to get Mitchell Robinson back, which is a plus. But I think this is buying at like almost the healthiest they are. You know, maybe Mitch comes back in a month and they have a few games with everyone there. But I just can't imagine this team staying fully healthy all year. Now, that being said, you know, maybe they do. And that's why at the plus 500, I think, so one of the bets Brandon and I gave out, I think you, Matt, I think Joe, I think all of us gave out the Celtics at the beginning of the year at like, I think it was like minus 150 or something like that.
Yeah.
I am intrigued having that Celtics ticket, adding a little bit of Knicks here. I wouldn't add a ton, but I do think it's not a terrible leverage spot, in part because the Celtics do appear to be kind of playing with their food a little bit, very fine with, you know, trying stuff out during the regular season. So I wouldn't want to do, like, I wouldn't want to buy out of my Knicks under. I still think the Knicks are going to be in that low 50s range. I have been more impressed with them, but I want to, if I'm going to play something on the Knicks, I don't want like a minus 110. I don't hate the plus 500 side of it, because you are getting everything breaks right and they get a year where they hit the gas and they stay healthy the entire year. If that happens, I'll probably be looking to fade them in the playoffs, because to me, this is just a giant Jenga tower. But sometimes the Jenga tower, you get like 30 minutes of playing Jenga with your friends at the bar, and it's really fun, and you can, you know, get the plus 500. Like it's really fun while it lasts. I just don't want like a minus 110, and I wouldn't want to bet into this if I didn't have any previous tickets. But holding a Celtics ticket, I think it's not a terrible spot to leverage it a little bit, just to make sure you're coming out positive in this Atlantic division.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the playing with food, trying out stuff, I will just say I know what that looks like, and I don't think that that's this. I'm willing to be wrong on
That's
this.
fair, honestly.
And I also think that sometimes what happens, because like John Corrales, who I respect the hell out of for Boston Sports Report, he's also host of Locked On Celtics. He talked about like this team, like, they just won't put their foot on the gas. Like, they're just like coasting through. And I'm like, I remember saying this about the Nuggets last year. I remember that's what I said about that team too. And like the reality is like that may be a little bit part of it, but that also doesn't mean you're going to find that gear either. I'm not saying that Boston's like definitely going to lose. I'm saying the door is wider than the market right now.
I'll say this. I'm up in Vermont these days, so hung out with some of my Vermont friends, Boston Celtic fans. The vibes are not great among the fan base, and now maybe that's just Boston fans in general. But they there's like a lot of Porzingis hate. I'm like that really confused me. I was like, wait, this is a thing, and it the vibes maybe don't shift things too much, and maybe that's all narrative that we get caught up in. But I do think sometimes, especially, unfortunately, I saw it on the flip side where Boston as a city somehow like manifested championships for 20 years and it drove me insane. They also can manifest their teams out of winning. It does seem like sometimes Boston's like this magical city that has like its fan base is so insane and crazy that it sometimes seeps onto the court or the ice or whatever sport it may be.
I'm going to double check here. Cavaliers are minus 3,000 standard across the board. There's a minus 4,500 at FanDuel. The Bucks are plus 1,400. There's a plus 2,000 in the market. By the way, there's a plus 3,200 at FanDuel for the Bucks. The Bucks are 10 back in the loss column. I'm somebody that tracks this stuff very closely. And if you're like, is 10 games insurmountable? And I'm like, 10 games is not insurmountable if a team is winning at a 65%, 70% clip. With the Cavaliers winning at an 87% clip, the drop-off would have to be so extreme, it would have to be cataclysmic in order for the Buccaneers to catch up here, or for the Bucks to catch up. Sorry, Buccaneers. Or the Indiana Pacers. I've been talking about the Bucks all day because my wife was like talking about football teams she doesn't care about. And she was like, all of the South teams. And I was like, what about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? She's like, do you have something you can? I was like, Warwick Dunn. I care about the Buccaneers because of Warwick Dunn. Look that up, youngsters. Anyway, the Bucks are 10 back in the loss column. The Cavs have already clinched tiebreaker over them, 3-0 versus them. Unless there is speak now, like in a marriage. Speak now if anyone objects to me moving on to the next division.
No, I'll only reiterate because like the Cavs missed some star players last year and went on their massive run. Like this team is built for the regular season regardless. Even if a player were to go out, I don't think they would drop off significantly. And there's no reason for the Bucks to put the pedal to the gas. Like we've seen them resting Lillard and Giannis here. There's no reason to talk about this division. Yeah.
A fascinating division is the Southeast Division. The Orlando Magic are now 20-14 after their win on Sunday. The Atlanta Hawks are now 18-15 after their win versus the Raptors. The Heat are 15-15 after they took a loss on Sunday as well. The Magic are still heavy favorites in this market. DraftKings minus 220. There's a minus 250 at Caesars. The lowest you're going to get is ESPN's going to minus 195. The Heat are plus 300-ish, 290. There's a plus 370 at FanDuel if you want to get in on the Heat. And the Hawks, Jim Turvey's very own Atlanta Hawks, there's a plus 650 at DraftKings you can get in on Atlanta. There's actually like not a bad way to price shop this and get a pretty good selection of hold across the three prices, or two of them if you wanted. So Hawks are just one back in the loss column here. No word on Paolo Banchero and when he's going to return. They can't score. They keep finding ways to pull out victories because Jamal Mosley is coaching his ass off, and that's a team of absolute dogs. This market is definitely priced on Paolo's going to come back, and then Franz is going to come back, and then this is going to be a team that's on pace for another 48 wins. And if they just manage to hold on, then they're going to win this division. Jim Turvey, do you want to double down and go in on the Hawks again?
No, I wanted to. I really don't see a whole lot of value here. I think it's really funny the advanced stats and like dunks and threes, NBA reference, like their kind of postseason projections. NBA reference has the Hawks a 2.2% chance of winning the division, despite being a game back in the loss column right now. They do not like the Hawks. The Hawks are almost doing a little bit of the inverse of last year. They're winning a lot of close games. They're winning some games maybe they shouldn't. I have to say, I did like the sign today. We were talking to Andrew O'Connor Watts, one of our favorites here, about like, is this a letdown spot for the Hawks. Last season, this Raptors game in Toronto, after a couple big wins, would have been just a guaranteed loss for the Hawks. Today they won by like 30 plus. I do think this team is genuinely better. I still don't really want to bet them. I think Orlando's really good. I think Mosley's an outstanding coach. I do think Paolo's going to be back, and I think that they have the ability to kind of survive even in times with, we've clearly seen they've survived without their two best players. So they have the third easiest remaining schedule too. So like there's a lot of factors there that are on the Orlando side. And then when you add in, I am obviously higher on the Hawks than some of these sites that really don't have any respect for them right now. But I don't feel a need certainly to add. And even if I were coming into this market fresh, I really wouldn't want to get on the Hawks right now. What I think is most interesting, I think Orlando also has an ability to kind of add in the free agent market or in the trade market. They're not really a team that gets talked about in that market a lot, but they actually might be able to do a little bit more than, it seems like Miami's like really locked up. It's not going to be easy for them to make a deal. If anything, it's like shipping people out. Atlanta, we've heard rumors of them shipping people out too, and they don't look like they're going to be big buyers. So I think Orlando is the correct favorite right now. I just don't really want to be on any of the prices as is the second. That doesn't mean that there won't be value later on in this division in this season, but as of this second, I think everything's priced pretty well.
Joe, do you have thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a team, I think that I would be most interested in Atlanta at this point, especially at the number. But I don't need anybody in this division. I feel like this was the division, even coming into the year, when we did our preseason wins pool, I wanted the Magic under on their win total. It was like 48.5. So I'm a little bit like low on Orlando to begin with. And I think that they've almost been overperforming even up to this point. Granted, like they're supposed to get some people back and maybe that changes things, but who knows how that goes from an efficiency standpoint. So I think if I had to pick, I would look at Atlanta, but I'm not enthralled with any of these options.
I should know, I was wrong. I blanked on Miami got the win tonight versus the Rockets in a back and forth affair. I missed on that one. So I lean Miami here a little bit at plus 370, which you can get at FanDuel. That to me is, I think, a pretty good price. I'll probably put a small amount on that. I don't really have anything in this market. I didn't bet Orlando. I wound up being like very on the number with them and being like, I don't want to bet the over. I don't want to bet the under. And so the hope would kind of be that Miami makes a run and overtakes them, and then I can get Orlando at a discount price later. I think would be kind of the ideal here. But it's also like, do you really want to, like, is it worth even doing that? Like, isn't it better just to leave it alone? Like, this is the kind of thing where it's like, before I would be like, I'll do this and then this other thing, do that, and then now I'm getting better at this and being like, I could just not. I could just not bet on anyone in the Southeast Division because the Orlando Magic are definitely the best team, and they've just gotten insane injury luck. And if that just stays. Now, the other counter here is that there are just seasons, and we see them all the time, where it's like, yeah, no, they just had that year and everybody got hurt.
That's my worry, honestly.
Yeah.
I will say, Matt, what do you think? Wendell Carter Jr. seems to have kind of fallen out of the rotation. I feel like he would be a pretty interesting piece. Do you think that they could make a move, like a decent splash?
I think they can. I think they're in a really great spot to make a trade. They
what about Cam Johnson to them? Like I feel like Cam Johnson to anyone sounds fun. He's like just a good piece. Like I feel like he'd give them a lot more offense, and he fits like their defensive in length. I feel like he'd be so good on them.
They have a lot of options. I just don't know what they're going to do because they re-signed all these guys, and I don't know why. Like how
much are you going to pay these guys? Yeah.
And so it's like, we'll see. I guess we'll see kind of what happens. But I will just say that I lean towards Miami here. I may want to make a bet on it because I do think that there's a world where they get a good outcome out of the Jimmy Butler trade. There's not like a lot of the options are not great, but if a team is desperate enough to trade for Jimmy Butler, they're desperate enough to give up good assets to do it. And if they pull off something with Golden State, I'm probably going to look at Miami as the winner of that deal. So I lean Miami a little bit. That wraps up the Eastern Conference. Let's go to the West, which is a lot more interesting, but we'll start with the least interesting. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to win like 70 games and nobody's touching them.
Yeah.
Any
I
objections?
think the only part about this division that I think is interesting is BetMGM is the one that really has this, but they have like the division exactas, right? Where it's like 1-2. Because Denver and Minnesota are there. Who do you think is more likely out of those two teams to finish second? Because I think that's an interesting question, because the vibes in Minnesota seem atrocious, but they're still 16-14. They're decent in terms of their overall like net rating, stuff like that. They have obviously tradable assets, but at the same time, like they're trying to get under. I feel like they just keep trying to shed money. So I don't know, but I feel like there might be some value there in terms of like pairing one of those options where you can say like, well, it's really functionally a bet on who's going to finish second in the division.
Wait.
Yeah.
And the reason I say wait is one of these two teams, and very possibly both, are going to make a fundamental a starting lineup trade.
Yeah.
It's either going to be like one of Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, or Jaden McDaniels is getting traded. And it may be like all three of them. If you said all three were dealt before the deadline, I'd be like, no shock. Not surprised at all. So, with that, you want to get, now the key there is like, you don't wait and then bet that team. You then go the other way.
Yeah.
So like if Minnesota makes a deal and they get like everyone's like, God, what a steal. Like, look at Minnesota added and love it. And then their price goes up above Denver. All right. You immediately bet Denver. And if Denver trades Michael Porter Jr. to Atlanta and gets a couple of pieces back, and it's like, all right, they've like loaded up around Jokic, go in and bet Minnesota 1-2.
Yeah.
But either way, it's OKC by a mile. God.
Yeah.
I'm not blindly betting OKC in every game, but like the numbers on my model are just like, you shouldn't even ask.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to consult me. You can just assume I think you should take OKC here against the spread.
Yeah.
So, except for when the fucking Wizards covered against them. Anyway, Pacific Division. Man, this one's fascinating. God. Okay. There is a different favorite at multiple books. So this is as of Sunday morning is when I got these odds. Before the trade of D'Angelo Russell for Dorian Finney-Smith, which I'm going to assume has not moved the Lakers substantially. If I'm wrong, correct me, guys. There's a plus 300 for the Lakers at BetMGM and at ESPN. The lowest is 240 at FanDuel and BetRivers. The Warriors have a plus 280 at ESPN and all the way down at 260 at BetRivers. The Clippers are the favorite at several books, including at Caesars, they're plus 225. There's a plus 220 on them at ESPN. At BetMGM, the Clippers are the favorite at plus 225. Then you have the Suns just hanging out in the 300s as they try and figure out what the fuck happened to their season. And then you have the Kings who have just reverted full back into Kangs. They've just deformed into Kangsness.
Kangs.
Kawhi Leonard is scheduled to return on January 4th. It's been announced that he's going to return on January 4th. So that's great news. I assume that we'll get word that Kawhi Leonard is going to be out several weeks on January 5th. Golden State, there's lots of trade possibilities there. Joe, let's go to you. Of this market, where's the value? How do you bet this?
I think there's no chance that you can bet on the Clippers. I have less than zero interest in betting on the Clippers. I think it literally ties directly into the thing you just talked about in the last division. Oh, like Kawhi's showing up. Let's just not bet that. Let's just bet anything but that. Because he's never going to play. He's like, even best case scenario, he's not going to play in back-to-backs either. Yeah. And when this division's so tight, I think it's admirable that they are where they are. But it's, to a degree, it's like, are they running hot? Like, what's kind of the scenario? The Kings, I have no interest in. I do think that the Lakers and the Warriors are the most interesting to me because I think that they have the most room to kind of make maneuvers in order to improve the team. So I think that's kind of the way that I would look at it. Plus, in terms of where we're going with LeBron, Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves looks like a little bit back right now. I think that obviously is going to help them. Phoenix, I have my concerns with as well, because I don't really know how they make any maneuvers. I guess you could maybe trade Nurkic is maybe the best you can do, but I don't know how much you're really bringing back for him. So I think that if I had to bet on a team here, I like the Lakers 3-1. You have LeBron, you have Anthony Davis. I understand that there's health risk with them, but honestly, with this entire division, every single team has a health issue, I think, or an age issue. So I think that it's a little bit mitigated, or I think it's a little bit less important in terms of a variable if you're picking a team, because some of the other teams can also experience the same type of injury variance that your choice could in this type of instance.
Just checked. This did move after the trade. So Clippers moved to plus 250 from plus 225, so down a quarter. And then Lakers moved from 300 to plus 250. Because I guess just everybody's like...
Steam. Yeah.
They got him now! Jim, I want your thoughts, and then I got to talk about D'Lo for a minute.
Well, I almost want to kick it back to you, because I think, based on your notes here, I think you and Joe are much more aligned. I'm almost on the exact opposite side. So do you want to kind of follow up the Joe side, and then I can kind of flip and give the counter perspective to all that?
Yeah, so, I mean... what else? I'll just say that, like, from if we look at their overall team strength and we kind of evaluate them from who's been good this season, Lakers are all the way down at 20th adjusted net at dunks and threes, 13th offense, 20th at defense. Defense has been trending up, but that comes at the cost of the offense. That's usually how it works. Is like they were a top 10 offense, and their offense has got a little bit worse. Their defense has gotten a little bit better, and they were playing so well and really like taking things seriously. And then like the Pistons came onto the West Coast and just wrecked franchises. Like they go into Phoenix and Phoenix falls off the deep end. They go to Sacramento and come back with a 4-point play from Jaden Ivey, and poor Mike Brown gets fired. And then like they just like the Pistons just wreaked a path of havoc through the West Coast before they ran into the altitude game versus Denver. The Kings are 13 and 19, but they're 15th in adjusted. The Clippers are like the best team so far. They've got a top 5 defense, and they're 18th in offense, and they're getting Kawhi Leonard back. I understand why the Clippers are here. There's still a part of me that's very much like, yeah, I don't know, I don't see it. And maybe I'm just, that's stubbornness, because you could be really reluctant to change your priors. Like, I don't know. Like, if you bet, I don't know, theoretically, like, let's say you bet the Los Angeles Rams to be, like, the worst team in the NFL. And then just, like, week after week, like, they just kept winning games. Right?
I wish that was theoretical.
And then, like, theoretically, like, you just kept betting against them because you're like, no, this team sucks. And then, like, theoretically, your friend bet on the Rams to make the playoffs. Like, that's, like, a theoretical, like, a hypothetical example of how that could happen. I will say with the Lakers thing, and this is okay. I'm a plus minus guy. I am willing to totally admit that, and it has its limitations, and I try and understand them. If the plus minus stuff tells me something I don't understand, I go digging to find out why. Whether it's luck, whether it's shooting variance, whether it's lineup construction, whether it's whatever. I go searching. What I will tell you is that D'Angelo Russell this season has the best on-court net rating of any Los Angeles Laker. He has the best on-off differential of any Los Angeles Laker. They are plus 1.5 with D'Lo on the court. They are minus 7.2 with him on the bench. And if you go like, oh, well, that's because they moved him to the bench. And nope, he was great with the starters. Oh, it's because he played with LeBron and AD early. Nope, they were bad without him. And when he went to the bench, he won his minutes, and starters got slightly worse until they figured out the max thing. Like, I don't understand it, because I think D'Lo sucks. No, that's too harsh. I do not think D'Lo sucks. D'Lo is a very good NBA player. I think D'Lo is a negative impact player in terms of trying to win basketball games.
Yeah.
And some of that's his fault and some of it's not. But I will just say, like, from a numbers perspective, this trade did not probably make them better. Which makes me want to fade them, but I look at like my numbers are very different from where the rest of the projection system has them. And so my numbers are still like, yeah, no, you should trust the Lakers. And I'm like, do I have to? I don't want to. So I lean Lakers here at plus 300. Jim, what position are you on?
I'm on the complete opposite side. And I listen, I get very much why you and Joe want absolutely no piece of the Clippers. I have written here, it's hold your nose and bet it, because it is gross. I like don't really want it. I'm with you on like Kawhi coming back and like probably being one game and also probably messing up the juju and like, but like they have been by far the best team. Like you laid out, they've had an excellent defense. They have an awesome head coach. They've played the 6th hardest schedule so far. They've had the 11th best net rating. They're just really good. And if they're going to be at least in the playoff picture, they have an insane, super rich owner who's going to do everything he can in their first year in this new stadium to get them to be in that playoff picture. So I think they're going to be buyers as well. I don't think there's any reason to think that their mega rich owner is not going to do that. The Lakers, to me, are just the Lakers are the one I don't want any piece of. Anthony Davis has missed 1 game so far. Like I just don't.
But we did this last year. To be fair,
that's fair.
Yeah, and he played, and LeBron played.
That is fair. But regardless of that, I mean, like you laid out, the Kings have a like handily better adjusted net rating. They have a better non-adjusted net rating. I think you could make a case for a tiny sprinkle on the Kings here with a brand new head coach, even though they didn't look good in the first game with it. But if things get shaken up over there. To me, in a division where there's this much chaos, there's no amazing team. I either want to be on the team that the numbers tell me is clearly the best team, or the crazy long shot that by net rating is actually in the middle of the division this year. The Kings are basically an average team that's just gotten really unlucky in the clutch. They have the player who was the two-time, or not the two-time, but the first ever clutch player of the year in De'Aaron Fox. So to me, the Lakers are just not it. The Warriors are the one where I go back to non-numbers and I'm like, man, this team just looks shaky right now. They're the ones that are the second best by adjusted net rating so far. And I just don't want any piece of them right now. I loved them before the season. They were my, I think, second pick in the wins draft. I regret it so much right now. I just don't think that there's like a lot of good going on there. I think Kerr kind of got himself in a hole with these weird rotations he was playing at the beginning of the season. And now guys don't feel comfortable and they're going to have to end up trading guys. I just don't love what's going on in Golden State. And then Phoenix, their guys just can't stay on the court at the same time. So to me, it's hold your nose and bet it for the Clippers, which you're still getting at like a really solid plus number, even though they have been clearly the best team. And theoretically, I think we all think it's theoretical, could have a plus player in Kawhi coming. But even if they don't get Kawhi, there could be other additions at the deadline via, Ballmer and his trillions. And then the Kings, who we have reason to think that they might be different moving forward with a new coach. And by net rating, have actually been the 3rd best team. And you're getting like 33-1 out there. So I want, if anything, the Kings and the Clippers are my 2 teams in this division.
My thing with the Kings is honestly, I think Mike Brown's a good coach. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
I don't think that firing him was a plus decision.
Oh.
I think it was a bad decision. Like I think it's just Mike Brown wins Coach of the Year because the Kings aren't that good. They overperform, and then now they're losing these games in clutch time because they're not that good. And
we've seen good coaches get fired and then the team do well, because sometimes it is just like a change of scenery type thing.
Yeah,
Cavs, I think JB Bickerstaff's a good coach, and they're doing much better this year.
Fair, yeah.
That's not in season though.
What's that?
That's not in season.
No, that's fair. If I had time to think about it, I feel like I could come up with some. But
like if they had moved on from Mike Brown and had added somebody who wasn't Doug Christie, I would be in.
Yeah, that's the fair counter right there.
Like it's like I think Mike Brown's a really good coach, and the whole thing just was like what happened here? Because it's like if you looked at any advanced numbers, like you're saying, you'd look at the Kings and go, well, they're okay. Like, why are we doing this?
The Kings.
I'm at the Michael Malone press conference, and you have to understand, like, I know, like, Malone has not hid how much he hates the Kings for firing him.
Yeah.
Like, he's told us he will not wear purple. Ever.
Michael Malone is the most honor-based human I've ever heard of, and I love it.
He doesn't own a piece of purple.
It's incredible.
He won't wear it.
At least it's a relatively easy color to avoid, but
usually when I ask Michael questions, I ask him like, I have some pretty elaborate setups because I'm trying to like box him out of the easy stuff. I don't want him giving me certain things. This one I knew what we were getting, and so I just asked him, "Can I get your thoughts on the Mike Brown firing?" and just let him cook. And the man said, "No class, no balls."
Yep, awesome. That was
And
all
like
over.
it
all
echoed
over.
throughout the press conference room as every writer was like, "Well, I'm writing on this now."
Yep.
The only thing here, a couple things. I think I'm with you that after the trade, I can't do Lakers because the price now they are getting steamed. Even if it's a quarter, I can't do it right now. I don't want the Clippers. They're a fake NBA team. Like you are in love with the Hawks and the Clippers, these fake NBA teams, and I will not go with you. The one that's actually, I can't do it again, but God, the Suns is tempting. They shouldn't. They just shouldn't be this bad.
The best thing that the Suns did was have $2 hot dogs. That's the best thing they've done this season. Like, I'm not betting them. Forget it.
That first 10 games, the first 10 games when I was watching, I was like, man, we nailed this. They're going to be like, this team is going to win 55 plus games. We are cooking.
Yeah.
And then like KD gets hurt, and then they just melted.
I don't get it. It's weird.
They got to trade Nurk is the other thing I will tell you is one of their problems is they don't have the personnel. Nurk is very tough in that you can build a really good defense with Nurk, but you better have guys that are absolutely killer at lock and trail. So being able to get on your hip, coming around a screen, and just stay with you. If you get any separation, Nurk's drop is so deep, and he's not able to kind of half it. Even when he plays high, he gives too much space, and that's where they wind up getting killed.
You're saying Beal's not that at this point in his career?
Yeah, it's tough. All right.
Yeah.
So Jim likes the Clippers and the Kings. Joe likes,
I guess, the Lake. Honestly, Jim talked me off all of it. To be honest, like I'm just like I don't want to bet any of these teams. Like I don't like any.
The Kings is probably would be better value. The one thing I will tell you on here's the one thing I will tell you on Kings. The reason not to bet it, and like they can win, they can definitely win this division. De'Aaron Fox, okay. This is speculation, and this is me based off of my years of experience and not reporting. Fox is gone.
Mm.
And once a guy is gone, everybody checks out. Because now it's, I got to take care of my own.
You're saying like gone, like he's checked out, or like they're trading him?
He's either getting traded or he's leaving in free agency. De'Aaron Fox will not be a Sacramento King next year. Again, that's speculative. He could change his mind and sign a multi-year extension with them, right? This has been burbling for some time. Like this has been cooking with Fox, and it's very apparent. Like this is what happens. The star lets you the star comes into the season with higher expectations, frustrated after years of not making it. The team gets off to a slow start. The players' representation meets with the ownership to say, you better figure this out or my guy's not going to want to be here. The coach gets fired. Like, this is the program that we see over and over and over again. I've seen this. This is Dwight Howard with Orlando.
Well, speak of the devil, a team would be so perfect for him to land in.
Yeah, but I will tell you, if there's any team that's lining up at the door, I think it's going to be Houston. So,
it's who?
Houston.
Yeah, that's a really good fit.
They could really use him too, I think.
Yeah.
Last division, Southwest Division, another mess. We're recording this on Sunday night. We don't have an official timeline on Ja. Ja could be out months and needs shoulder surgery. Ja could be out a few weeks and be sore. Ja could be back in the next game. He's got an AC joint sprain right now. There's going to be concern about, because he tore the labrum last year. So there's going to be concern about this. And I will say, like, there's just like, you could just kind of pick up that folks in Memphis are a little nervous. People that cover the team are like a little bit nervous about this. Luka's out a month. They are 2 games back in the loss column. Dallas is going to be fine, but fine looks like 55 to 60% win percentage, not maintaining their 625. Like they're going to be worse. They're probably going to be like a 55 to 50 to 59, 8.5% winning percentage team without Luka. The Rockets are the favorite now, with there being a plus 130 at DraftKings. The Mavericks are plus 280. The Grizzlies are plus 160. I don't want Houston. They're not fake. I just don't think that they're going to win 52 plus games. I think they're going to be like, hey, they won 49 games. They won 50 games this season. And I think you're going to need 52. If I get word Ja is back, I will absolutely bet Memphis. I will 100% bet Memphis because they will build a lead that is big enough that the Mavericks can't come back. As we sit here tonight on Sunday, December 29th, I want the Mavericks at plus 280 because it's only a month for Luka. They'll hold on. The key with Luka and the Mavericks, we've seen them do this at not just last year at various points. They go on these stretches where it's like they're 14-1 in their last 13 games. Oh, they're 18-2 in their last 20. They can put that together. Memphis is much more of like 3-game winning streak, lost. 4-game winning streak, lost. 2-game winning streak, lost. And they'll rack it up. Houston, I think, is going to go through probably like a large dip where it's like, oh man, they lost like 4 or 5 and it really hurts them. But they'll kind of like stabilize a little bit more. Jim, when you look at the Southwest Division, where do you lean?
I'm like in basically lockstep with you. So we're back on after being off on the last one. Yeah, to me, Houston's like the ultimate 48 win team. Like I almost just want to be like, that team's winning 48 games this year. Like I agree with you. I think they will have some ups and downs. I love the floor. Like I would bet them 45 plus wins at minus money or something like that. I really do think that this is a very legit team. But like you said, I want the ceiling of one of these two teams. I'll note I did a little poking around today. So Grizzlies are 8-4 without Morant. The Mavs are 7-3 without Luka. For us Luka haters, us Luka truthers, who I had to go into hiding after he made it to the finals last year, but I'm back. Don't worry, I'm back in Luka Haterville. And I do think that they very much can survive this stretch run without him. They're 7-3 without Luka, and they've got wins over the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Knicks, and the Clippers. That 8-4 for the Grizzlies, the Nuggets were the only real legit win in there. I think the Mavs without Luka are like a 48-win team. So I think that they are very live to be here. I do want to hear about the Ja news because I do think that is very big, and I'd want to wait, even if it cost me 50 cents or something. I think if Ja is around, then I think it really is close between the two, and you could even potentially bet both of them because I'm with you on Houston being just not having the ceiling to win this division really, even though I love Houston. So I want to hear that Morant news. But I think this second, playing off of the unknown and the possibility of some whispers about it being a little more serious, I really do. I can't believe I'm liking Dallas, but it's in a way that hates Luka, so that's still on brand for me.
Joe,
need to be on brand.
No, I mean I think that you need to wait for the Ja news. I think that that's probably the most critical piece of information here, just because it's going to impact this number one way or the other. I do think though, if Ja is out for really any extended period of time, we know Luke is out for a month. I think it does open the door like a little bit for Victor.
I saw that,
like
Joe.
This number is wild. It's 150-1. They're 5 games out basically. So the way I see it, San Antonio has not been very good. I'm not saying that they are in the same class as really any of the other teams in this division. What I do think, though, and what we've seen from Victor is this, like, it's almost, he's so young and he's so talented that he's almost improving at an exponential rate, where you look at this and you could say, even if you looked at last season, you said, okay, when he first came in, he was good, but, definitely some quirks, gets hurt a little bit, comes back better. And then goes back out, and then his post All-Star break was just tremendous. Now this season, even he started, had a little bit of a dip. Now he's coming right back up. He's taking like 10 threes a game, and he's shooting pretty well from beyond the arc. So for me, when you have a guy like that at this number, with some of the injury issues that we see are going around, with also a very young team, the Spurs are a team that I think it's hard to truly encapsulate how good they are, because you're dealing with so many rookies or second-year players, third-year players, and like obviously Chris Paul is there as a leader too, as a veteran leader. But he's somebody that I think raises the floor, helps organize the team, organize some of the offense, organize a little bit of the defense. I think that there's just untapped ceiling potential here for this team, where we're already seeing injuries between Luka, maybe with Ja, Houston, I think their ceiling is capped to a degree. So I don't think that you have to worry about them winning, say, 55 games. It's not really what you're looking at. So if you're the Spurs, you're 500 right now, you obviously need to break that and kind of bust out of that part of what you've done so far this season. But if anybody in this division had the ability to kind of surprise teams, or if you were really looking at a long shot in the NBA overall, would you not want really like the best young player in the NBA since LeBron? Is that not what you'd want to bet on at 150 to 1 to win the division? When some of these other teams, they might say, well, we don't need to win the division. Like, who cares? We just need to even be in the play-in. And then we're going to win the play-in game because we've got Luka, we've got Ja.
It's a very impassioned argument. And I would say your argument's really sound if we were starting right now. But you're not starting right now. You're starting in a 5-game hole.
Yeah.
And it's 6 with tiebreaker with Houston. So that to me is the thing here. And I know that's baked into the number. Like, you get a great return on it. But that's kind of my thing is, like, let's say that they turn into like this supernova. I know it sounds like nothing. I'm telling you, 6 games is a lot.
It is.
Up. It's a lot. And it's a lot for... Also, you got to keep in mind, Wemby's already missing games. Like, he's a guy that does get banged up. And they have to be careful with him. And so that caution, if it's built, or if your cap is built around mostly Wemby, then I can't get there. I am not swayed, and I will happily take Memphis if Ja gets back, or the Dallas Mavericks. But Jim, are you swayed?
I might put like $1 on it. I think it is a good. I think betting on the ceiling of Wemby is going to be a thing that we don't get 151s on Wemby ceilings past this year. So any Wemby ceiling bet at 150 to 1, I think is a dollar bet for me.
And it's not even just only Wemby. This is a Castle bet to a degree too, because I think Castle's really good and Castle keeps getting better. So it's like, to me, I think the roster itself is very young. And that's what I'm trying to bet on when you have Wemby is like, I don't know if you want to call him the cherry on top, because it feels diminutive to call him the cherry on top. But like that's the way that I'm looking at this, is just that you have a transcendent player in Wemby, and then you also have a lot of young talent throughout the roster with some veteran leadership and like Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, etc. So that's why I think this number is interesting when there are definite injuries in the division.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's not good, but it's interesting. I want to touch on 6th man of the year before we do best bets real quickly, because we kind of said like, this is done. Peyton Pritchard, victory lap. Woo! So Peyton Pritchard's 5th now in scoring off the bench. Minimum 20 games played, less than 15 games started. The list is DeAndre Hunter at 21 points per game now. Jonathan Kuminga at 17. Malik Beasley, who, by the way, is leading the league in threes at 17, and at least catch and shoot. Malik Monk at 16, and then Peyton Pritchard at 15.4. Jared McCain was next before his unfortunate injury, and then Bobby Portis behind him at 14. And yet the market, Joe Dellera, Peyton Pritchard, better, says that this is done, and that Pritchard is minus 275. Now that's down from like minus 500 2 weeks ago when we were like, yeah, it's probably done.
Yeah.
Bet Rivers is still minus 335. You could still catch a plus 400 on DeAndre Hunter at DraftKings.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, the only player I'd want is Hunter. I don't think the Pistons are going to be good enough. And I think that the Kuminga, there's too much noise around Kuminga and whether he gets moved, if they need to insert him into the starting lineup. Like, I'm not super interested in Kuminga. I think if it's between Malik Monk and Peyton Pritchard, they're going to go to somebody new. They're going to go for the better team. They're going to go for the team that's top in the conference, one of the best teams in the NBA. I think it would go to Peyton Pritchard. Hunter, I think, is particularly interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's scoring 20 points a game. He's been absolutely on fire this month. Do I also feel like we are buying the literal peak of DeAndre Hunter ever? A little bit, like a little bit. My concern though with DeAndre Hunter is he's a name that has been in like swirling in the trade rumor type of market. If we buy DeAndre Hunter stock in an effort to maybe hedge Peyton Pritchard stock, is DeAndre Hunter just going to get traded and then some team's going to go, he's too good to come off the bench. He needs to start. What are we doing? Why would we bring him off the bench?
Yeah.
And then that's totally out the window.
So
Flip
if
side-
go ahead.
No, I was just saying flip side. What if he gets traded to an even better team? He is the sixth man. He's on a playoff team, and he's under the
But then does
microscope
he
and
score
getting
20
eyeballs.
points? Then does he score 20 points a game?
But he does that thing, the classic thing where you score 20 points a game when you're in the role to do it, and then you're down to 16 and you end up at 18.
Yeah.
By the way, this has already moved since this morning after the Hawks got another win.
Scored 22 points in like 12 minutes.
Yeah, he's down to plus 280.
Yeah.
I like Malik Beasley at 55-1. I am still of the opinion that the Pistons are not good, but you can be a playoff team in the Eastern Conference and not be good. And if Hunter did move into a starting role and Beasley continues to shoot like this, which I think he will, I think that they're like the problem is mostly like he may just wind up starting. Like they may just be like, we're going to actually play the best lineup, because I was stunned this morning when I found out that if you just take Tim Hardaway Jr. out and put Malik Beasley in for the Pistons, they have a plus 15 net rating with their starters.
Wow.
That's incredible.
I was like, what?
Yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. not great. Not one of our finer draft picks out of the New York Knicks organization.
And I want good things for Tim because he's taking so much shit. But I will just tell you, I can't bet this right now because I'm too much in the Celtics are not frauds. They're just not what you think they are zone. So I'm very much in a, people are finding out, like, oh, maybe we should just not let him take threes. Like, maybe just theoretically you should stay home on Peyton Pritchard. Because I watched the way the Pacers defended tonight, and the Pacers, and they gave up 54 threes, so this is dumb, but it's the Pacers. Like, anytime the Pacers do anything right defensively, I note it. But the Pacers were literally like, they left Sam Hauser open on a cut. Like, they were guarding him on a slip and left him to go guard the 3-point line, and Hauser stopped and didn't know what to do, so he just backed up to the 3-point line. Because that's how wired they are.
Yeah.
Jim, I do think that there's opportunities in this market. I'm not saying that I think DeAndre is still a good bet right now, depending on where we can get him. But I do think that I am of the, it is more likely than not that Peyton Pritchard does not win this award, whereas the market is still more likely that he wins.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I can't get there on Beasley in part because Boston's leaning so hard into this bit, and like maybe it'll just be annoying by the end of the season, but they're like really trying to get him at, like he's racking up stats against bad teams.
Jaylen Brown's like, we're trying to get it for him, and I'm just
he
like,
scored 21 today. Like,
yeah,
he did it again.
Come on,
but I have to.
Let's be serious though, Joe. Like, can we be like, Peyton Pritchard's gonna win an award?
Why not?
Oh, that fits so well. A white dude in Boston, like what? How has he not won the award yet? Like it makes too much sense. But I have to say, I want to formally apologize to listeners of Buckets for not being on DeAndre Hunter earlier. This is the Atlanta Hawks, my team. This is a UVA grad, my college team. I've been on DeAndre Hunter Island for a while. I don't know if he's even that good, but this should have been like a sharp read weeks ago that I had, and I dropped the ball, and I genuinely want to apologize. It was just an oversight, and we'll get it back for you. But I definitely think it's worth, if you have Peyton Pritchard, I 100% think it's worth the hedge. I think if you're not even in the market, I think it is worth a dabble, because I think he could end up somewhere where he's under a bigger spotlight. And I do think that the Peyton Pritchard stuff is starting to get, I'm with you, Matt. I think people are starting to figure it out a little bit. I wouldn't be cashing out of tickets, but I think getting, significant plus money on him when I can't quite get to Beasley. I can't quite get to some of these other people, in part because Boston's trying so hard. But if Hunter's averaging 20 points and Pritchard's down around like 15, that's going to be pretty interesting.
If you tail Joe, you're in an awesome position of being able to actually bet like serious candidates, because your nonsense one is now the favorite. So you've got a really good opportunity here.
My concern with DeAndre Hunter is he came back after, like, he was in and out. So like his games played is a little lower, obviously. My concern with him, because we're dealing with a smaller sample size, his numbers in literally every single stat are better than they've ever been ever for him.
Yeah.
So like that's why I'm like, okay, from a volume perspective, okay, because he's up in terms of volume. But then even the percentages are better. So like, do we think that all of a sudden 27-year-old DeAndre Hunter just figured out that he can score 20 points a game and he can shoot? He has a 60% effective field goal percentage. He's never been close to that. His career mark is 52. So like, to me, obviously that improves off of your rookie year for sure, but none of the peripheral
totally
stats
and there's
are
also
better.
like he's right now he's coming off the bench behind a rookie. At any point they could say Richardson, who's averaging fewer minutes, they could just flip the two of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think the bigger question is like, are we really actually going to get Peyton Pritchard an award? Okay.
Wait, can I throw out two names very briefly? That like these are like really long shots. Not even like I don't think this one person has a number listed. In part because he has been starting, but Isaiah Hartenstein, if Chet comes back in time to move him to the bench, he does not fit the profile at all. He's a no-go, right?
He won't be back. He will not be. Like Chet's just not going to be back, and they have to start him.
The other one would be if Ja is out for a while, Scottie Pippen Jr. could rack up a bunch of starts. He's down around 10 points a game right now. Is there any value there? Those were just two names that, as I was scrolling down, caught my eye. I don't think neither of them would be bets for me, but I'm curious your guys' thoughts.
I think that Pippen would just get buried by the end of the season. Like by the time Ja gets back, he might rack up the stats now and get a lot of buzz, but then by the time it actually comes to vote and like talk about the award, and when the media narrative is going around this award, he's going to be kind of deep into the bench. I think. Like I don't think he's going to be getting enough minutes. Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk more about this award. We got more time to bet it. We'll figure it out. We'll see if we can get a sense for what's actually going to happen with this award as it goes along. Let's do some best bets for Monday in the association. Let's go around the horn. Joe Dellera, what do you like in Monday?
I like Christian Brown over 11.5 points, and I will give you a spread, which means who knows what it means, but Cavs minus 4.5 against the Golden State Warriors.
No, I'm on that. Don't do that. I'm also on Cavs minus 4.5. I am on Cavs minus 4.5. Any number you can get this at, I'm going to like it. I'm also on the Los Angeles Clippers minus 6.5 versus the New Orleans Pelicans. And I will probably be on the New York Knicks minus 11.5 as well. Jim Turvey, your bets.
Overlap on that Knicks minus 11.5.
Yeah.
My player prop for you is Miles Bridges over 34.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. And then I got a little same game parlay for y'all. Got Kyrie 30 plus points and the Dallas money line. I'll see if that was not available earlier. Let me see if I can get a number on that right now.
I like that you said parlay. Like I like the change on that. Same game parlay.
Honoring Keira Knightley.
Nice. Very nice. I am also, by the way, I'm going to add, because I didn't have this number earlier, I'm going to add the Denver Nuggets minus 6.5 versus the Utah Jazz. That'll be another bet for me. Let's talk Nuggets Jazz, since we got two bets on that game. I make this, it's 6.5 in the market. No Aaron Gordon for Denver. I still make this double digits. Utah's been better. I don't think that they're this much better. Denver's hard to figure out. Denver can lose to bad teams, and they usually can beat good teams. They just lost the Cavs, which is why I went back in on, I bet the Cavs, and then I bet the Pistons, and I like them to win them to win this game too. As much as Denver's kind of been inconsistent, they're getting the inconsistency down a little bit. Putting Westbrook in the starting lineup is actually helping a little bit, because you have fewer minutes with Westbrook with the bench. And it's like Westbrook with Jokic is really good. And not just because Jokic is good, because the combo actually works. Westbrook without Jokic is a flaming disaster. And they've actually started playing a little bit better. DeAndre Jordan's giving them pretty good minutes. So with the Jazz kind of coming off of a tough loss the other night to the Sixers, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Denver Nuggets minus 6.5. Joe Dellera is taking the man I have started nicknaming Dunks and Threes, because all Christian Brown does is take dunks and threes. That's all he does. Nothing else. There's literally nothing else that Christian does offensively. He just takes dunks and threes. Why do you like him to go over at 11.5 here?
This guy just understands his role, and I think that's super important because he's over 11.5 points in 12 of 13 games without Aaron Gordon this season, averaging 16.2 points per game without him. He missed this line last game. He had 10. I think that this is just a perfect opportunity to buy on this, right? Utah slightly above average in terms of pace. They deter rim attempts, but they're not actually good at stopping them. And I think a lot of that has to do with, Kessler is a good deterrent, but the defense overall is so weak that a lot of times they're getting like walk-up layups, or you're getting these dunk opportunities on cutters because the rest of the defense isn't that good. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Christian Braun, where you have, like you said, Russell Westbrook, Nikola Jokic, kind of playing that two-man game, but they also are really thriving on finding the right cutters and finding the right people in the right position. So for me, this is really just a usage-based spot here. I think that he's going to be able to get a couple layups, a couple dunks, maybe a 3 or 2, and over 11.5 points based on even just the history without Gordon. He's just looked at in that exact same role that Gordon plays, which is the cutter, the roller, the back screener, whatever it is. He's given those opportunities, and over 11.5 points, it's just a little bit too low, and we're getting that buy low opportunity after he missed last game.
I'm going to tell you on this. Utah is dead last in turnover percentage. Dead last. There are very few players who are better at leak outs right now than Christian Braun. Because he knows he's going to get the ball. Because when you have Joker and you have, honestly, Jamal's been really good at it too. With the way the Nuggets play, you're not wasting your energy on the go route. So he constantly leaks out, and he is able to turn on the Jets so easily off of turnovers. Joker's going to actually get a high number of steals and be able to throw these up ahead for Christian to get points. I love this. 11.5 that's a great bet, Joe. Let's go, before we hit Cavs, let's do the next bet here, Jim. I was on them in the previous game. I'm doing the exact same thing I did with the Pacers, which is I've got a duplex spot. They should have beaten this team by 20 the first time. They didn't. They won in overtime. I'm just going back to the well. The Knicks will take it more serious and play and get past whatever the nonsense that they messed around with in that previous game was. So I'll lay the points. What's your cap on this game?
Yeah, well, you said it well. They should have won by 20. If you give each team their season-long 3-point shooting percentage in that game, they would have won by over 30. So, and that is basically what happened the first time these two teams played. The Knicks won by 28. This Dunks and Threes has us around 13 by adjusted net rating. And this was basically a home game for the Knicks on Saturday. I don't know if I'm sure you were watching. I mean, Brunson was getting MVP chance. So like that's 13 considering home court for Washington, which it might not actually be. If you want to wait on the Brunson news, he is questionable. I'll like it either way. Like if he sits and they move it and they adjust it, I'll probably like that number as well. It is amazing that they needed 55 from Brunson, but I really do think that was kind of a one-off game. And that in the second game, Washington kind of gave their spirited effort. The books gave the Knicks plus money live. I was able to get that at like plus 150 live with about like the 2-minute mark. I was like, there's just not the Knicks are like the things being as they were. The Knicks were going to win that game and the Wizards were going to lose it. Now, Bilal had a chance to win it at the end there, so it wasn't like a lock by any stretch. But I do think this is one where the Knicks come out and roll. And it was at 10.5. I like that more. 11.5, maybe starting to get to the edge of what I want just because of, the potential for a blowout and then some garbage time backdoor cover by the Wizards. But I do like the 11.5 number here for the Knicks.
Yeah, if Brunson doesn't play, like I did this last game because he was on the report.
This was awesome.
I bet Miles McBride to lead the game in scoring. And it was almost like I knew it was going to lose as soon as Brunson was rolled in. But I think that I think that because of the availability, because it's this back-to-back, because they just won the last one in overtime, they have a New Year's Day game. It wouldn't shock me if they sat Brunson in like the same matchup, right? So if it's offered to you, I think the matchup's good. I think that Brunson showed you what a lead guard can do against this Wizards team. We know that McBride shoots a lot of threes. It was 60-1 last game. They pulled it like immediately and then opened it back up at 40-1. But I do think that there's a little bit of an opportunity to say like, okay, well, I'm going to bet on Brunson. It's basically like it's a compounded bet. You're betting on Brunson's availability and you're also betting on McBride being able to be the top scorer in the game. But if Brunson's out, McBride's ability to be the top scorer in the game is never going to be 60-1. It is going to skyrocket. So I think it's worth a little bit of a sprinkle considering it's the duplex spot. Brunson had the double nickel. It's the same game. It's, we're coming up to New Year's. I think that it's worth a little bit of a sprinkle, like, skip the guac or something.
No, I absolutely love this. And this goes in line with, like, I think there are really good ways out there, if people think creatively, that you can leverage the complete insanity of NBA injuries against the sports books, because they have to hang stuff. If you kind of like create scripts and stuff like that off of potential injury news of people sitting or staying in, I think there's ways you can really leverage NBA injury news against the sports books.
Nice. Did you get the Miles Bridges cap, Jim? If you haven't, let's get that one real quick.
I did not yet. So LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Cody Martin, all doubtful for this game. Last game, that was the case. He had 19, 10, and 6. So clearing this number, and that was despite going 1 for 8 from 3. Now he gets an even better matchup. He goes against the crazy, fast-paced, terrible defense in Chicago. You put all those factors together, and I think this line will be on the move. So hopefully folks can get it. I'd play it up to like 36.5, maybe even 37.5.
Okay. Joe, let's go back to Cavs minus 4.5. Why? Look, the Golden State's very good. They're a very good basketball team. Why are they only 4.5 point dogs here to the Cleveland Cavaliers?
I don't know. And I mean, the Cavs immediately got bet. This opened at 3.5. They immediately got bet to 4.5. I guess it's because Cleveland's on the road and Golden State's getting some home court respect. But I mean,
they're 46.7% ATS at home this season.
Yeah, like I was shocked to see this being under 2 possessions, honestly. Like, Cleveland is the 3rd best team in adjusted net rating. They're the number 1 offense in adjusted offensive rating in the league. Golden State is 13th. They've dropped out of the top 10. The defense is kind of fallen. They're 7th. The offense is all the way down to 15th. We have all these issues. Draymond Green on the hot mic yelling at Buddy Hield the other day. It's just Cleveland has just been on an absolute wagon. And until kind of proven otherwise, I don't see any reason to bet against them. And from a shot profile perspective, the biggest thing to me here is that Cleveland is taking a lot of threes, and they're making a lot of threes too. Golden State is 22nd in terms of opponent 3-point frequency. So they're allowing their opponents to shoot threes on about 40% of their possessions. That just aligns perfectly with what Cleveland wants to do. So if that's going to be what the shots that they're offered, I know Golden State defends them pretty well, but Cleveland's number 1 in terms of 3-point accuracy as well on the season. I think that Cleveland doesn't really need to get out of what they do in order to succeed in this game. So I like them at the 4.5. I would bet this up to 6.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get there on these two teams being equal. Or I can't get there as the Cavs as a small favorite. I just can't. Like, they've just been so much better than everybody except OKC. I'm on the under on this game as well. It's in the app. I'm only on it for a quarter of a unit. I project this down at like 216. I will say the Cavs on the road are a 69% team to the over. Nice. But Warriors at home are 46.7 to the over. So it balances out a little bit. I'm willing to put a small amount on it. But yeah, I can't. I'll just say this. If you like Warriors, bet minus 3.5, because this is a great spot for you to get the alt line on this team. Like, if they win, if they cover, they're going to win this game. That is the most likely outcome, is that they cover, they're going to win this game, and they're going to win it probably by more than a possession. Not that they're going to like destroy the Cavaliers, but revenge spot, a lot of things going on here. But from a numbers perspective, I can't see any reason why this is, like I said, like Joe said, below 2 possessions. Jim, give me the Mavs same game parlay you like.
Yeah, so I came to this originally just looking at the Kyrie points, and I saw the spread, and I was very surprised. It actually looks like it has moved a point while we've been recording, so that doesn't shock me. The Mavs money line is like plus 150. I even though I caped up for the Kings earlier in this episode, I think the Mavs I also caped up for, and I'm totally fine betting the Mavs without Luka. This is like that star player out theory. Shout out to Watts again for that little spot nomenclature, but. So if I'm leaning towards Dallas and Kyrie, the last 2 games, he's taken 23.5 field goal attempts per game without Luka out there. Kyrie in a game in this fast pace against a Kings mediocre defense, you can get like plus 350 if you combine these two. Luka's projected around 28.5 points. That's his baseline. So I think combining those two plays that I liked both of them, they're in the same game. Obviously, they're correlated. So throw them together for a little same game parlay if you want.
I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do a progressive with another parlay that's going to be the Mavs under 230.5 and Kyrie 30+. I think that's the
old reverse, Corey. What is that?
The reverse correlation. All right. Mavs money line, Kyrie 30+, same game parlay. Miles Bridges over 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Knicks minus 11.5, bing bong. Joe, Christian Brown over 11.5 points. Cavs minus 4.5. I'm on Nuggets minus 6.5. Knicks minus 11.5. Cavs minus 4.5. Clippers minus 6.5. This is just the Pelicans are bad. The Pelicans are bad. The Clippers are good. So
Clippers are winning the division.
Jim's fading his Kings. I'm backing the Clippers. Up is down, left is right. Mass hysteria. Thanks for joining us for Buckets. We will be back for Tuesday for New Year's Eve best bets. No show Tuesday night for New Year's Eve. So there will be no show on Wednesday, but we'll be back at it on Wednesday night for Thursday, and then Thursday into Friday, and then we're rolling along. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you think of the show. Give us a 5-star review. Go to youtube.com/The Action Network. Hit like and subscribe. My thanks to David Payne. My thanks to Brady Rubino. My thanks to Gifford Gould. My thanks to the Future Jays. My thanks to you, the listener. Have a great night. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Till then, let's get buckets.